All right, let's take a look at some overlays today. There are many types of different overlays, so I'm going to give you a brief run through of some of those today. First one that you can see here, you can immediately identify that on the right hand side there is a little button, and if I click that, it's going to bring up all of the different accessibility functions that I can use. Now, this is a very similar pattern that we would see in a number of other accessibility assistants. So I'm going to show you a couple more. So over here we have an Australian website. If I click the accessibility menu, you'll see it pops up with a number of different other criteria that you can change, many of which are sort of stock standard when it comes to overlays. If I jump over to icare, you'll now see that this is a different kind of accessibility assistant. So this is more a toolbar, and you can see it sort of sits here halfway down the screen. So it allows me to play audio, so I can hear all of the text being read out, or I can change the font size. There is also another accessibility assistant, which I can show you here, which is Recite. It again is one of those toolbar looking assistants. So you can see when it's operating, it's a toolbar here at the top of my screen. All right. Now, as you can see, there's a number of different properties between all of them. So in the WAH Accessibility Assistant, you'll see that we have multiple different profiles that you can use. If you scroll down, we have multiple font customisations. If we go down further, you can see we have a number of different color adjustments. And then we have a few other components, so such as removing animations, highlighting text, changing your cursor size, and a few others in there to boot. So quite a lot of different customization features that you have in this particular toolbar. If we jump over to the Recite Me, you can see again there are a lot of different items here, and if you hover over, you can see we've got text options, focus text, we've got increasing text size, we've got color themes, we've got changing of the cursor, we've got a dictionary, and we've got a page summarizer. So many different tools, and there are more as well if you kind of
User guide opens in a new tab.
Now, one of the problems I have with Recite Me is as you pause
Website Accessibility Assistive Toolbar. Image, the assistive toolbar open on several websites.
So you can see if I pause my cursor on something at any point, Recite Me starts reading out by default, even though I hadn't clicked that banner saying to use it, which is quite annoying. Now, if I'm using keyboard, I have a similar thing. So once I get past these initial buttons,
decrease text size, text options, enable/disable focus text.
So you can hear it reading out. And if I haven't already hit the user guide, which is further along this toolbar, then I'm not really sure how to pause it without going backwards. And so the first thing that I would think is that I would, the play button normally would start. I'd be expecting this to be a stop. So if I hit it,
skip navigation.
You can see, however, it doesn't stop. It just toggles it intermittently.
Text options. Enable/change language.
Now, if I come over to this particular assistant that we pulled up, you can see here I have a number of different features that I can set. So I can make my text bigger, and I can do it multiple times, right? And if I then click again, it's going to turn it off. So that's kind of nice. I've got the ability to increase text. I can space my text. I can add some additional features. So I can put on a high contrast mode, which is in inverted colors, a dark contrast, and a light contrast. But you can see that, I can turn these items on and off. If you can come down all the way to the bottom, you can hit reset. But again, that's not always in the best placement. So if we jump now over to icare, you can see we only have a very small amount of options, but it does do what it says it does.
icare, Insurance and Care New South Wales. Website, https://www.
Right, and I can stop it reading out. I can jump over, I can change the volume. I can change the reading speed, which is really nice. Some of these with text-to-speech, you can't change the reading speed. So I quite like that you can do that here. And then I can come over here and I can increase my font size, or I can decrease my font size. If I come over to the Ignite ability, you can see that there is a clearly identified overlay button. If I select that button, it brings up a number of different options. Now, this one doesn't have as many options as we've seen in, say, the WP Accessibility Helper or the Accessibility Toolbar for Recite Me, but we do have a few options here. One of the unfortunate things, though, with this accessibility tool is, with this accessibility overlay, is that I don't actually see all the properties here when I have a zoom level on. So if I scroll down, you'll see the accessibility helper stays on the top all the time. And I'm even just going to come over here and grab with my mouse, and you can see it staying there all the time. I also have a button to jump me back to the top, but unless I zoom out, you can't see all of the options in the accessibility overlay. So I don't have the ability to access any of these features. Now, when I'm normally navigating the web, I'm usually at about 125%. It all depends on how I'm feeling on a given day. So if I want to access those lower features, I'm not going to know they're there. Now, this again, it does give me good customization, so I can change my view to have a negative contrast view, which makes it a bit easier when I'm working and have light sensitivity or I need higher contrast. I can turn it off just by re-clicking, or, if I go down to the bottom, which has a refresh, a reset, which unfortunately I can't see currently on my zoom level. I can increase the size of text, though I can't choose to what level, so I'm just increasing it bit by bit, and I'm not sure how far it's going to go. And as you can see, unfortunately, even with that increase, I am getting text overlapping due to my zoom level. And even if I zoom out, I've still got that text overlapping, so it's really not ideal. I can decrease my text, which is great. And as you can see, when I do that, it also gives me a better view of the actual overlay itself. But as I increase text, more and more disappears and I can't access it. So that's a little bit of a drawback. Now, what I want to do is have a look at what the WP Accessibility Helper can do. And if you come here, we're going to toggle on some of these profiles. Now, one of the biggest problems I have with this particular overlay is all of these profiles don't actually tell me what they do. So I have to kind of toggle them on or off to figure it out. Now, I can go to a different page, which will tell me more details around the particular items. But usually when I'm on a website, I just want to get on and get what I need. I don't really want to go looking around at all the documentation of the overlay that I need to use. All right, so if I say I want to turn on the visually impaired profile titles, so over here, you can potentially see that the colors changed a little bit. If I scroll down, it looks like text may have changed a little bit. So I'm going to come back up and I'm going to turn it off and scroll down. You can see text has gotten a bit smaller. So now if I turn it back on, I don't really like how it does jump me back to the top of the screen. So that's a bit frustrating. But you can see it has done, some basic changes that you would expect for vision. Now, if I scroll back up so that I can open this up again and turn it off, the next is I have an ADHD profile. So I'd be expecting that this would kind of turn off some animations, would stop any blinking or flashing so that I can pay attention to the content. And if I turn that on, at first you can see it doesn't do anything until I move my mouse. And then it's giving me this viewer area. To me, I actually find that more difficult to use. You can see the animations are still occurring, and sometimes that viewer is not exactly where I would expect it to be. So for someone that may have ADHD, unfortunately, we've kind of introduced for them an animation. But now, another one of the bad that we have here is I'm just going to come up and I'm going to navigate by keyboard for a minute. And I'm going to close that overlay. And if I navigate by keyboard, right, you can see that it's not actually following my keyboard focus too well. That actually makes it much more difficult for me to navigate this website. So again, another unfortunate thing about this tool. So I'm going to jump back on and I'm going to turn that back off. Now, some of the good things is I can come here and I can say I want to increase the text size, and it does that, as you can see, in a unified manner. I can reset the size, so that's right there, which is fantastic. I can change all the spacing, so I can change the spacing of the letters, I can change the word spacing, I can change the line height. So a lot of different features that I can turn on and off, which can make this a lot easier for me as a user to operate. In general, and it will occur with almost all of the overlays that you see, which is if I come in and I turn off my accessibility overlays. So I'm going to use this plugin that I have here, and I'm going to come through to my CSS and I'm going to disable all styles, right? Now this is turning my CSS off. And if I scroll up, you'll see that the page, thankfully, is still really readable. But if I come down, you can see I now have all of these configuration items which are part of the overlay. Now, the unfortunate side effect of this is that if I do come down and I want to change item as per this overlay, I don't have the ability to change it. I do have the ability to tick them on or off, but because they all operate at a CSS level, and most of the overlays you're going to see operate at a CSS level or a JavaScript level, I now can no longer use it if I don't have my CSS turned on. So I'm going to turn that back on, and I'm actually going to set a couple of properties here just so that we can come back and have a look at them in a second. And I'm going to increase the font size as well, and I'm going to increase the word spacing and letter spacing. I'm going to close this. Now, one of the really good things that the accessibility assistants do is that you can leave the page and come back as long as you don't clear your browser cache and your cookie settings. And if I reload this, you're going to see it took that second to turn it on, but it did remember my preferences and turn them all on, which is fantastic. So if I'm going to be visiting this page multiple times and I know how the overlay works, then that's a really handy feature. The unfortunate thing, however, is you do have that little bit of a delay. And if I were to remove my cookies and clear my cache, then I'd no longer have access to these features, which is a bit of a disappointment. Okay, so just to show you what I mean, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to actually clear my browsing data. Okay, and then I'm going to come back to the website and I'm going to reload. Now you can see it's lost my preferences. Finally, one of the problems that you can run into when you're using accessibility overlays is that depending on how they've been implemented, they may not load at the same speed as the page. So if I come over to recruitment services, for example, and I'm going to copy this link, I'm going to close it out and I'm going to open it up in a new window. And what you're going to see is that accessibility button, it's not going to be there immediately. Okay, so you can see it does take a little while to load. So if you're navigating by keyboard only or using a screen reader, you might actually get past where this menu should be showing before it actually appears. So you may not even be aware that there is an accessibility menu there. Now, this doesn't affect mouse users as much because they have implemented this as a sticky heading, which usually I would advise against anyway, but in this instance, if you need the accessibility menu, it's good to have it right there at your fingertips. So it's a really quick demonstration of how overlays can work on different websites, what kind of features and functionality they'll give you, some of the benefits that you have for the different customizations, and also some of the disappointing or poor features due to limitations of the overlay in general. So I hope you found that very interesting in understanding how different overlays can work, how to spot them, and how you can interact with them.